Good morning and welcome. In today's show on the last day of the 80s, we'll have our look at the highlights of the decade. There's a competition involved, so have a pen and piece of paper handy. Gary will preview the wildcard games, and Dan Marino will be with us for his look back over the month of December, and with action from the Bengals-Vikings match. But first, let's wrap up the final week of the regular season. Week 16 in the NFL was spread out over 3 days. On Saturday, 3 games took place. Wide receiver Steve Largent played the last game of his illustrious career for the Seahawks against the Redskins, but Washington won easily, 29-0. The Buffalo Bills won their second consecutive AFC Eastern Division crown by blowing out the New York Jets 37-0. This game turned out to be the last for Jets coach Joe Walton, who, as predicted, was fired on Tuesday. And Saturday evening, the Cleveland Browns won the Central Division crown by beating Houston in the last minute in the House of Pain. The Pittsburgh Steelers were one of many teams who went into Sunday's game with a hope of an AFC wildcard berth. To have any chance, they had to win in Tampa Bay.
Brister going for Lips. He's got it, and he gets away.
He's gone.
Lewis Lips will not be caught from behind, and the Steelers take the lead. Brister finds Lewis Lips. The cornerback faked out completely. Touchdown, Pittsburgh. Reynolds all the way in the end zone for some reason. 2 tight end set. Worley, did he get in? Yes. Touchdown, Pittsburgh.
So the Steelers, who were beaten by a combined score of 92-10 in their first 2 games, recovered to finish the regular season with a 9-7 record. With the victory against Tampa, they remain in the playoff picture. The Packers were another team that had to win and hope. Their Christmas mission was to defeat the error-prone Cowboys in Texas Stadium.
And another first down. This is first and 10 from the 11. Intercepted by Johnny Holland. And Troy Aikman trips him up at about the 32-yard line. 4 wideouts. Complete to Query. Touchdown, Green Bay. Touchdown, Ed West. Second and 12, Aikman going up top, looking for Shepard, and it's intercepted by Dave Brown.
The Packers intercepted Troy Aikman 4 times on their way to their crucial 20-10 victory.
Bo Jackson and co. went to New York looking for a win and a wildcard spot. Unfortunately, they found David Meggett in the kind of form that's made him an All-Pro.
Dave Meggett, a rookie who's going to the Pro Bowl, breaks it across the 35. He's not done till he crosses the 40, still on his feet. Meggett could go the distance. Dave Meggett's inside the 30. No one will catch him now, and the rookie from Towson State takes it the distance with no flags on the field.
A bad start for Arts boys, but their next punt found Meggett in a more charitable mood. His fumble set up an 8-yard touchdown pass from Steve Berline to Ethan Horton and seemed to swing the game in LA's favour.
Touchdown Raiders to Mervyn Fernandez.
It was 17 apiece at half-time, but in the third quarter, New York, with Meggett receiving as well as running, took over.
And there's not one linebacker in the league, I think, that can cover Dave Meggett out of the backfield.
Otis Anderson went over from 1 yard and over the 1,000-yard mark for the season. And by the time Phil Simms ran a touchdown in himself, the Giants had the NFC East title, and Art Shell's rebuilding job on the Raiders had been stopped short of the playoffs. Bill Parcells was so incensed at a photographer's pitch invasion, he scarcely noticed the customary congratulations. Afterwards, though, he was full of praise for his team.
I'm really pleased for these guys. They worked hard. You know, we were picked third in this division in preseason. We're an 8-8 team. We're in transition, but we're on top of it now. And I just look forward to trying to get some guys healthy here and starting the playoffs.
The Eagles played at the same time as the Giants. They didn't know if New York was winning, but they did know a victory over Phoenix would give them at least a place in the NFC wildcard game. The Cardinals, though, were no easy touch.
Ogaboom, 3-step drop into the flat, caught, touchdown Phoenix. Roy Green, 3 minutes to go, first quarter. Cunningham on a half roll, and he'll keep it. Touchdown! Once once again, the Eagles are going with a hurry-up field goal outfit. They did this 2 weeks ago, and they threw a touchdown pass. And here is Ruzak to Carter. Touchdown! How do you like that? Quick setup, touchdown, Robert Drummond. And that is his first touchdown as a professional. Mike Golick is in defensively now. Hogaboom over the middle. Green, touchdown. His second of the day. They hand it off. Heath Sherman, touchdown.
Heath Sherman's touchdown proved to be the game breaker, and the Eagles have now booked a wild card place. The Denver Broncos, already through to the playoffs, were surprised by San Diego. Chris Barr kicked the game-winning field goal as time expired. Both Miami and Kansas City had faint playoff hopes going into the Christmas weekend. The crowd retreated to a Yuletide shootout.
Jensen in motion. Marino looks for him, got him for the touchdown. First down, Kansas City from the 20 of the Dolphins. DeBerg has a man streaking across the middle in for the touchdown. That is Stephon Page, who just ran straight up the gut for 20 yards and a Kansas City score. Marino has got a touchdown to Edmonds. First and goal. Saxon. Touchdown. And let's see if they go to Okoye now. He's the tailback in the eye. There he is. Touchdown, Kansas City. Marino looks to the end zone, and the pass is there. Mark Clayton for the touchdown, throws the ball into the stands.
Tied at 24-all with 90 seconds remaining, Nick Lowry was left with a potential game-winning kick from 41 yards for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Good.
With that boot and the victory, the Chiefs waited for the other results from around the league, while the Dolphins knew their season was over. The Indianapolis Colts were in control of their own destiny regarding postseason play. All they had to do was win. But the Saints, arguably the best team not going to the playoffs, had other ideas.
Colts are blitzing.
Forte fires. Touchdown. Eric Martin has it. Hilliard. Touchdown. He's going to throw. Forcade in trouble. Being flushed. Oh, wide open. Brenner. Touchdown.
Oh, he's open. The tight end.
Touchdown.
Oh, he could have thrown it. He wanted to run it.
And it's all over for Indianapolis.
The Saints' third victory in a row over a playoff contender had the Colts joining them at home for the new year. The Rams, like the Colts, needed a victory to be sure of a wild-card place. The Snowmen at Foxborough looked on as the Rams took the lead.
First down, Grogan. Intercepted. This is Gray. This is a touchdown for the Rams. Second down and 7, the ball at the 7. Everett has pressure, throws anyway, has the completion. Touchdown Rams, Buford McGee.
Down by 14 in the third quarter, veteran Steve Grogan brought the Patriots back.
Grogan's got company in the pocket. He throws this one deep. There's a man open. It's Fryer. Touchdown, New England. Stevens has a blocker. Gets to the outside. Touchdown, New England.
That touchdown tied the scores. Jason Starowski then kicked a field goal to give the Patriots a 20-17 lead. With 2 minutes left, though, the Rams replied.
Bell, right side. Touchdown, Los Angeles.
Greg Bell rushed for over 200 yards in the game as the Rams scraped through to the postseason with a 24-20 victory. The Detroit Lions won their 5th game in a row. Barry Sanders rushed for 158 yards, and he finished second to Christian Okoye for the NFL rushing title. And in a rematch of last year's NFC Championship game, the 49ers sent Chicago to their 6th consecutive defeat, 26-0. So as we take a look at the tables, in the NFC East, the Giants and Philadelphia go through to the playoffs. Washington rallied to 10-6, but just missed out. The injury-riddled Cardinals were well out of contention, and Dallas will be happy that their long winter is over. The game between Minnesota and Cincinnati, which we'll show you in a few minutes, will decide whether the Vikings or Packers are Central Division champions. Detroit are the surprising third-place finishers. They will be looking forward to next season, as will the Bears, who will want to forget this year in a hurry. The Buccaneers, who showed some promise, are in the basement again, I'm afraid to say. In the West, the 49ers and Rams go through, with the Saints missing out for the second year in a row. As for the Falcons, the only place they can go is up. In the AFC East, the Bills scraped through as champions. Both Indianapolis and Miami will be very disappointed not to be in the playoffs. There are rumors that New England's head coach Raymond Berry will be fired this week, while the Jets, who have already fired theirs, will hope a new coach can turn their franchise into winners. Cleveland are champions in the Central, and Houston, despite losing to the Browns, get through as a wildcard team. Who they play in the wildcard game again rests on the Vikings-Bengals matchup. If Cincinnati wins, they're in. If they lose, Pittsburgh goes through. In the West, Denver are the only qualifiers. Kansas City and the Raiders, despite missing out, will feel they've turned the corner and will look forward to their next campaign. Chuck Knox had his first losing season at Seattle, and Jim McMahon didn't change the fortunes of a disappointing Chargers team. So to summarize the playoff picture with one game remaining, in the NFC, the Giants and 49ers are through as champions. If Minnesota beats Cincinnati, they will join them. If they lose, the Packers go through. In the wildcard game, the Rams will visit Philadelphia. In the AFC, Buffalo, Cleveland and Denver are divisional champions. Houston will be one wildcard team. If Cincinnati beat Minnesota, the Oilers will visit the Bengals. If they lose, the Steelers would travel to Houston for that wildcard game. So several teams' playoff hopes hinged on last Monday night's game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Minnesota Vikings. It was a great game, and we'll have highlights of that match when we return. Welcome back. When Cincinnati and Minnesota met last week, both teams knew a loss would end their season. But it wasn't only their future they were playing for. If the Vikings won, it meant a wild card for the Pittsburgh Steelers. If the Bengals won, it was a division title for the Green Bay Packers. And as you can imagine, there were some interested parties watching this match. So on Christmas Day at the Metrodome in Minneapolis, the final game of the regular season came down to sudden death. The Vikings started well, scoring on each of their first three possessions. Rich Carlos hit field goals from 31, 37, and 22 yards. This gave Minnesota a 9-0 lead. We pick up the action early in the second quarter. Cincinnati has a first down and 10 at their own 10-yard line. Our match commentators are Frank Gifford, Dan Deerdorf, and Al Michaels.
Little dump-off pass to Ball, and he gets tackled by Ray Berry back at the 8-yard line. Second and 11 from the 9. 11 minutes to play in the half. 9-0 Minnesota. Vikings win, they go to the playoffs. Green Bay's out. Bengals win, they go to the playoffs. Pittsburgh would be out. Play clock is down to 4. And Esiason trips and gets sacked back at the 4-yard line. Chris Dolman will get credit for it. He's earned his share. He got some help right there, but nonetheless for Dolman, that will be number 18.
You never know when the center quarterback comes away from the center like that, whether or not he was stepped on as he pulls back. It looked like his right foot was caught, could have been stepped on.
And the Bengals without a huddle now, going right to the air, and Esiason with a flag being thrown has it broken up at the 50-yard line, intended for McGee, but there's a flag well away from the play itself on the near side.
Of course, the whole theory of this offense is to catch the defensive team in a change.
12 men on the field.
They did.
Defense.
That's exactly what happened. The Bengals, by
going without the huddle, and that's a penalty that the Bengal opponents have made time and time again this season. Third, and call it 12 from the 8-yard line.
And there's Boomer calling the play.
Brooks in motion. And Esiason under pressure, throws into double coverage and has it picked off by Darrell Fullington at the 38-yard line.
Boomer didn't get anything on that ball at all. I mean, he wasn't hit when he threw it. Now watch Noga, number 99, the bottom of your screen, working against Blados to spin to the inside. Blados tries to trip him again, but still Boomer wasn't hit when he threw, but yet the ball really floated off his hand.
And the coverage was great. There was nothing there. The ball at the 37-yard line. Here's Wilson going right to the air, finds Carter in the seam. Carter running parallel along the 20, out of bounds at the 13-yard line. What a block by Hassan Jones. And Anthony Carter goes over 1,000 yards, second consecutive year.
Again, no Bengal anywhere near Wade Wilson, allowing Anthony to run the crossing pattern. And this is just all Anthony Carter until right there. There's Jordan, there's Jones.
And it's first down from the 11. A deep drop and a screen is set up. And the catch is made by Benny, who breaks tackles and scores the touchdown. Eric Thomas, the quarterback, had the chance to make the play. A slim one it was. He took a shot at him. And now we know why Finney's in there. Good, strong running once he got inside the 5-yard line. Kind of the story of the Bengals season in microcosm. Last week, 61-7. And right now, 0-16.
I touched on it at the top of the show, Al. They scored 56 points during the season. Came back and scored 7. They scored in the 40s another week. Came back and scored 7 the following week and lost both those games. And they're off to another horrible start.
The Bengals on their following possession were forced to punt from their own end zone.
High snap. Johnson comes down with it, and it's a good deep kick. Leo Lewis at his own 40-yard line. To the Bengal 40. Still inbounds. And finally run out of bounds at about the 15.
Once again, though, the Vikings had to settle for a field goal, which Carlos converted his 4th of the game, this one from 42 yards. So everything was going right for Jerry Burns as the Vikings pulled ahead with a commanding 19-0 lead. Cincinnati finally got on the scoreboard themselves when on their next drive, Boomer Esiason found Eddie Brown from 34 yards out for the touchdown. On the Bengals' next possession with 39 seconds left in the half, Sam White gambled on a 4th down and 10.
Too long to kick a field goal.
And Minnesota has 3 timeouts. Very risky call from this position on the field. And Esiason chase throws, and it is picked off, but it hardly matters because an incompletion would have been about the same thing.
An unhappy Boomer Esiason looks on as 4 plays later, Wade Wilson capitalized on the situation, finding wide receiver Hassan Jones with a bomb. Jones has made a habit of catching Hail Mary passes this season, and this 50-yard reception set up Rich Carlos for his 5th field goal of the game.
This one from 25 yards, and it is good.
And what a big field goal, because now 2 touchdowns by Cincinnati still has them trailing.
We rejoin the action on the first play of the second half.
1st and 10, Cincinnati from the 35, and Esiason begins the second half with an errant pass. And meanwhile, in Green Bay, not very happy right now in the home of Brian Noble. Don Mikowski, what can you say about this one so far?
Well, the game's still early. We got a whole second half to play, and hopefully Cincinnati will come back in Green Bay fashion and be a second half team.
2nd down and 10 at the 35-yard line. Esiason looked first toward McGee and then over the middle for Holman, and he gets wrapped up, and the play is broken up by Scott Studwell. 3rd down and 10.
And you talk about locking on to someone. Studwell that time all over Rodney Holman. I mean, he just doesn't get any more than maybe a yard or two separation. Right there in the middle of your screen at the top.
Holman doesn't complain about it.
No, I mean,
that's good defense.
And look at the movement by Studwell going right for the right arm and bringing it down so Holman can't pull the ball in.
3rd and 10. Esiason stepping up. Throws on the run, and wide open down the far sideline is Rodney Holman. And Rodney Holman, who just dropped the last pass, goes all the way for a touchdown.
And Joey Browner has egg all over his face.
Looked like he came off the bench.
Joey Browner is locked up on Rodney Holman, and when Boomer Esiason starts to scramble, Browner moves off of Holman, comes towards Esiason, and Rodney Holman is long gone.
Jim Breach's extra point is good, and the crowd has been silenced because in the first 25 seconds of the 3rd quarter, Cincinnati has shaved the Minnesota lead to 8. Rodney Holman, he'll be going to the Pro Bowl again. He'll be the AFC starter, his first catch of the night.
That's all made possible by the scramble of Esiason, Browner's overreaction to that scramble, and Rodney Holman staying alive, breaking off his route, going down the sidelines and presenting a target to his quarterback. And guess who this makes very happy? Yep, you guessed it right. The Green Bay Packers celebrate a Cincinnati touchdown.
The rest of the 3rd quarter was littered with errors and turnovers, but neither team could take advantage of them. The Bengals turned the ball over 3 times, while the Vikings turned it over once. Rich Carlos at the start of the 4th quarter missed his 6th field goal attempt, a 52-yarder, which hits the post. We rejoin the action on the Bengals' next possession. They have a 1st down and 10 at their own 48-yard line.
Eric Ball assuming an unorthodox stance down on all fours.
Now the Vikings change their defense. Here's Brooks cutting to the outside, playing off a nice block and taking it to the 45-yard line. The block made by Eric Ball on Ray Berry to help spring him.
Watch him again, number 42, lead blocker for number 21.
Watch 21, though. I mean, look at him go to the air over his own people.
2nd and a long 3. Off the fake, Esiason is sacked back at the 45 by Chris Dolman, who now has the league lead.
Yeah, easy for Chris to want to be buddies. Boomer almost got out of it. Almost got out of it.
When the quarterback is tackled behind the line of scrimmage by the defense, it's a sack.
He goes past Tim Harris on another big night for Dolman.
That's actually Eric Caddis, the tight end, who's responsible for running Dolman out of the picture. And that's a good call by the official. You saw the knee of Esiason on the ground.
Pass over the middle to McGee, and a 1st down at the 39-yard line. And the Bengals tonight staying in the game because of their 3rd down proficiency. They scored twice on 3rd and 10. Here a key 3rd and 15 to keep this drive going.
Did you see Al Noga? Al Noga got close to Esiason and stopped. I mean, he looked like he might have been able to close in at the last second and really pulled up. Flashing over to the sidelines like he's having some sort of an equipment problem.
1st and 10 at the 38-yard line. 10:58 to play. Craig Taylor and Stanford Jennings are the running backs. Here's Jennings slipping inside, and Jennings taking it down to the 32-yard line. A pickup of close to 7. Ken Clark making the tackle. So what do you guys think at this point, Dwayne?
Well, it looks pretty good, and we're just hoping Minnesota can come in there and score a few more points for us.
Jennings spun down at the 28-yard line. That should be enough for a 1st down. Scott Studwell makes the tackle. Let's set it again now. If the Bengals win, they host a wild card game against Houston at Riverfront Sunday. If they lose, Pittsburgh is in the playoffs. They're at Houston. Vikings win, they're in the playoffs. They lose, they are out. Green Bay is in. Minnesota ahead 22-14, first and 10, Cincinnati at the 28-yard line. Craig Taylor is the sole setback. He gets the ball. Taylor running into the official and getting it down to the 18-yard line, close to a first down. Ray Berry gets credit for the tackle, and he will come up about a half a yard short of the first.
Have you noticed the difference in what's happening in this game? In the first half, Cincinnati virtually ignores their running game. And now in the second half, when they're attempting to gain control of the ball game, look how effectively they're using the ground game. Moving it right, moving it left, and getting some pretty good chunks when they do so.
2nd and 1, and going with a new pair of running backs here in Taylor and Jennings after Ball and Brooks have played much of the game.
And there's play action.
On 2nd and short, and underneath and wide open and making the catch is Taylor, busting a tackle, getting in for the touchdown. Craig Taylor, a rookie out of West Virginia.
6th-round draft pick, and Sam White said we may see him. He likes him. Fresh legs, and has made a big difference here in the 4th quarter. Green Bay.
Delirium in Dairyland for the moment.
Delirium in Dairyland. I don't even know why I repeated that. That's... Again, a reminder, play action is worthless unless you're effectively moving the ball on the ground. But look at the effort by Craig Taylor. Fights off Deuce Bobick. There's Ray Berry with a shot, and still he doesn't hit the ground until he gets the ball across the plane.
What an effort that was. We understand what Sam White was talking about.
The Mountaineers of Don Nehlen gave us Craig Taylor.
Well, how huge does that play at the end of the first half look now when the Bengals opted to go for a 4th and 10, came up short. Vikings were able to move it down into field goal range, cashed in for 3, and right now it's a 1-point ball game.
Siason looked quickly into the end zone for Holman, checked it off, and goes out to Taylor, and watch this effort.
So Jerry Burns sees his team's 19-point lead whittled down to just 1. We rejoin the Vikings on their first play following the kickoff.
And the catch is made by Carter, and he is pushed out of bounds, and a flag goes down as Eric Thomas jostles him.
And that is DUMB. Eric Thomas, who's been really playing extremely well tonight, has been all over the field.
Unnecessary roughness, number 22, defense, first down.
You don't hit another guy in the face without expecting to draw the flag. And Eric, you can look at that screen all you want. It's not going to change.
And again, loss is the fact that Wade Wilson and Anthony Carter were in perfect sync. And now they'll mark off the yardage. There it is, right in front of the Vikings bench.
Deep drop on 1st and 10, and a lot of pressure, and going deep for Carter, and batted and almost caught by Anthony as Eric Thomas batted it, and then Carter was almost there to grab the deflection. Incomplete. 2nd and 10, 8:26 to go. The pass is caught at the 26-yard line somehow, some way by Anthony Carter along the sideline, and enough for a first down.
Oh, this is the Anthony Carter that just is coming back to what he was a year ago for these Vikings. Last week, big game against Cleveland. A little out again. Wilson underthrows a little bit, but Carter saves him.
His 7th catch of the night as Benny takes it for a gain of about 5 to the 19-yard line.
Let's look at that again. I mean, what a... Hey, how does he keep this ball off the ground? I mean, you talk about laying out. Oh, that's just fabulous.
2nd and 3 at the 19-yard line. Here's Fenny. He has a first down as he takes it to the 13.
Rick Fenny, not just another blocking back, not just another short yardage ball carrier. A talented receiver, a guy who's been digging for some tough yards tonight and has made some big plays for the Vikings.
He has scored Minnesota's only touchdown on an 11-yard pass reception. 1st and 10, Vikings at the 13-yard line. Anderson and Fenny are the running backs. It's fumbled by Fenny. He picks it up back at the 22, and Ricky Dixon is there to make the tackle at the 20-yard line. Ball comes loose. Zander thought the play was still alive, and Haggerty says, no, sir. But let's take a peek.
Well, we always take
we'll always do. You know that.
Fenny made a great effort. Instead of falling on the ball, which he probably should have done, he was able to handle the ball, get it back into his hands, and turn it around and get 4 or 5 yards out of it. What happens? The ball is still tucked away. Still tucked away. Looks like it might have come out early.
That's a fumble. Looks like Skip McClendon got his right arm in there and knocked it out.
But they don't review it, and it's 2nd down and 16, and Wilson's going for the end zone.
They're going to get past
interference.
Phillips all over Hassan Jones.
And Phillips is going to get another one if he doesn't get out of the official's face.
And he will. Another flag goes down.
Phillips making contact past the 5 yards. Hassan Jones trying to make it out.
Holding number 24 on the defense. Unsportsmanlike conduct, number 24 on the defense.
Phillips shouldn't even be complaining about this. He just flat was caught.
Well, we've had back-to-back bonehead plays by the Bengal corners. First Eric Thomas and now Lewis Phillips. That's contact way beyond the 5-yard area. No question about the call. But then to come back and verbally accost an official, I mean, you know you're going to get it. You know you're going to get it. This is not professional wrestling where you throw them out of the ring. You know, the illegal bump isn't a killer. You know, that's only a 5-yard penalty. It's the unsportsmanlike conduct that really hurt the Bengals. Big games, you got to keep your cool. Pressure situations, good ball players know when to be smart.
Bengals have been penalized 27 yards on this drive. Walker takes it to the 3-yard line. It'll be 2nd and goal, and it's a loose ball, and Cincinnati has the football. No, the original signal is Cincinnati. Now he's saying Minnesota.
Yeah, they sure did. He came out of there and gave the ball to Cincinnati. And no one from Cincinnati even argues, so they must have never even had the ball.
He just came up and got disoriented.
Yeah, he pulled a Jim Marshall. He went the wrong way with it.
This is what Herschel Walker can do for you. Just take this stack, put it down with 230 pounds, and just drive people back.
Clearly a fumble.
It's also where he works best, between the tackles.
It's also where he fumbled.
2nd and goal. Here's Fenny through the middle, chugging his way to the 1, and then wrestled back by Crumry. 3rd and goal.
Was that not a fumble? I mean, did Herschel Walker not drop the ball?
That was clearly a fumble, but recovered by Minnesota. Somehow a Viking came up with a football.
He did lose it, but
yeah, he lost it. Clearly a fumble, but a Viking somehow got to the bottom of the pile. On 3rd and goal, no. Fenny is stopped at the 1-yard line. So it's 4th down and goal now. 4:45 remaining. Crowd saying go, 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 but Burns has to block that out. Do you want to go for what would be a chip shot field goal?
It's a tough call either way. I mean, you can't heavily criticize it either way.
Well, if you go for it, isn't this why you trade for Herschel Walker? I mean, it's real simple.
Well, they've been here before, and this upset a lot of people. He has not been the one that they've been giving it to.
Well, and they've given it to him on a couple of occasions, but he hasn't gotten in. They have 3 tight ends in the game. They'll come up in a tight set. They'll come up there with Fenny as the fullback, and Walker setting up at the 7-yard line. On 4th down, they fake it to Walker and loft it into the end zone, and a touchdown to Novoselsky.
Give me a break. You think Bob Schmelker, who called that play, is perhaps thinking he's moving on if it doesn't work?
And it's popular in Pittsburgh.
Brent Novoselsky.
And when Wade Wilson put that ball in the air, guys, I didn't think Novoselsky was going to be able to get to it.
Well, he has not had a whole lot of practice doing so. He usually is in there strictly to block. Here's the play action, a little bit of it to Herschel Walker. Look at this effort. That's wide receiver all the way.
And that is an absolutely perfect throw by Wade Wilson. Novoselsky's second touchdown of the year.
Here's Carlos for the extra point. And irony of ironies, Novoselsky started the season with Green Bay, picked up on waivers by Minnesota, and may have just put Green Bay out of the playoffs.
And indeed he had, as the Bengals were unable to score on their last 2 possessions.
Last play of the season. Into the end zone. And into the playoffs go the Vikings.
And Burns got it.
And the Vikings unbeaten at home this year. They go 8-0 under the dome.
And 13 consecutive wins.
And for all intents and purposes, so ends the first round of the playoffs.
And White, after seeing his team commit 2 flagrant fouls, 5 turnovers, and then that penalty on the late touchdown, must wish he had said nothing after last week's victory over Houston, when he called the Oilers, who are in the playoffs, a sorry, undisciplined team. So that wraps up the '89 season. And if it was the Bears, Packers, Dolphins, or even the Bengals you were pulling for, I hope you have a substitute team for the playoffs. That Minnesota victory gives them the Central Division title, and they join the Giants and 49ers in the NFC as champions. In the AFC, it's Buffalo, Cleveland, and Denver that finished on top. As for the wild card, Green Bay missed out, which means the Rams will visit Philadelphia to play the Eagles. In the AFC, Cincinnati's loss let the Steelers in, and they will visit the House of Pain to play Jerry Glanville's Oilers. We'll be previewing both of those wildcard games, looking at the best of the decade, and Dan will give us his look at December when we return. Welcome back. Unfortunately, Dan Marino's season came to an end prematurely, but he isn't burying his head in a sand trap. So let's go to Miami for his monthly report.
Happy holidays, and I hope you're all enjoying the festivities. Join me this month in a TV studio where I've just finished recording the last of my weekly shows that are broadcast here locally around Miami. As you can see, the logo back here, the handsome fella. Well, the NFL regular season is over, and after 16 weeks of hard work, the 10 playoff teams are known, and the other 18 clubs have licked their wounds and started thinking about next year. When last we spoke, Denver had already qualified for the playoffs. They were soon joined by the best team in the league, San Francisco, who had the exciting come-from-behind victory in Los Angeles. We all saw how devastating the 49ers offense can be in the game with 2 touchdowns from over 90 yards, and neither score was made by Jerry Rice. That may be part of the 49ers' secret, strength and depth. Even when Jerry Rice was tightly covered, they were capable of finding their outlet receivers and forcing the big play. Jerry Rice did play a part, though, by throwing 2 important blocks, allowing John Taylor to score. He's not just a run-and-catch artist. The other 4 divisions were not decided until the final week, and even me and the Dolphins were in it with a chance, but it was not to be with 3 defeats in the final 4 weeks. The most important was the Week 15 loss to the Indianapolis Colts. For the majority of the players, including myself, the season is over. The Dolphins had our final team meeting on Tuesday, and we were left to reflect on what might have been. Let's face it, we could have won the AFC East, but we ended up in 3rd place. The end of the season means different things to different players. Some will go off to run commercial ventures such as selling cars and running restaurants. Personally, I shall be spending more time with my wife and kids and improving my golf swing on the golf course. The players will all meet again at minicamp in May, then full training in July. However, for the 10 teams that have qualified for the playoffs, it's business as usual, especially for the wild card teams who have been training all this week and will be doing battle once more in just a few hours. To close out the regular season, a few Marino memories. Personally, I shall remember 1989 for my 200th career touchdown throw against the New England Patriots, and also the sack that ended the Dolphins' 19-game streak of protecting me. How about the touchdown that should not have been, scored by Jerry Rice? He clearly fumbled before he crossed the line. In the lateral of the year, Clay Matthews could well have been the villain last Saturday night, but it turned out okay when Cleveland won the game. Well, thanks for watching my monthly reports. I've enjoyed doing them. Hopefully I will see you all again on January 14th when I will be teaming up with Walter and Mick to bring you live coverage of one of the championship conference games. Until then, happy and healthy New Year. Cheerio, chaps.
Thanks, Dan, and a happy New Year to you. Today's program is our last of this year and of the 80s, so what better time to reflect back on the last 10 years? Don't forget, have your pens and paper ready, because after this, we're going to ask you to pick the single best team of the 80s.
Summer, you can see it fading fast. So you grab a piece of something that you think is gonna last. Well, you wouldn't even know a diamond if you held it in your hand. The things you think are precious, I can't understand.
Reeling in the years, stowing away the time. Are you gathering up the tears? Have you had enough of mine? Are you reeling in the years, stowing away the time? Are you gathering up the tears? Have you had enough of mine?
To the left, and he fires it out there, intercepted, Jack Square up, touchdown Raiders! I don't believe it! Holy Toledo!
Are you reeling in the years, stowing away the time? Are you gathering up the tears? Have you had enough of mine? Are you reeling in the years, stowing away the time? Gathering up the tears, have you had enough of
I spent a lot of money and I spent a lot of time. The trip we made to Hollywood is etched upon my mind. After all the things we've done and seen, you find another man. The things you think are useless, I can't understand.
Are you reeling in the years, stowing away the time? Are you gathering up the tears? Have you had enough of mine? Are you reeling in the years, stowing away the time? Are you gathering up the tears? Have you had enough of mine?
Montana, touchdown, John Taylor.
Well, some great teams featured there, and as the 80s close, it's inevitable that people will try to choose their team of the decade. We asked 20 top analysts here in the United States for their choice and got some interesting answers, from the Oakland Raiders in 1980 to the dominant Chicago Bears in 1985, and which San Francisco team has been the best. From our panel, one team has emerged, and we thought it would be fun to involve our audience by asking you to send in your choice of team and year on a postcard with your name and address. If your card is the first one we pick out that agrees with the panel, then we're going to invite you to be our guest at the American Bowl in August. You'll stay in a top-class hotel, have the best seats, and get to meet some of the players. Send your card to Team of the Decade, the Trocadero, 19 Rupert Street, London, W1V 7FS. At Super Bowl, I'll announce the winner and which team the experts chose. Now it's time to look forward to today's wildcard games. In the AFC, the Pittsburgh Steelers meet the Houston Oilers. These teams met twice in the regular season, and the Oilers won both those games, and they fully expect to make it 3 in a row today. Bubby Brister, the Steelers quarterback, sees it differently, but his 28th ranked offense and 19th ranked defense haven't made a believer out of me. In the NFC, the Eagles will host the Los Angeles Rams in Philadelphia, and Gary looks at that game.
After passing their way through most of the regular season, the Rams take a rediscovered running game into the playoffs, and the man who shoulders it believes the key to their game with the Eagles will be a trial of strength between two big lines.
It's one of those type of games where the big men are going to do a lot of pushing and a lot of shoving, and from a back standpoint, you just got to grind it out, look for the holes, make the inches, and soon they'll turn into yards.
Another factor could be the effect of Philadelphia's biting cold on a team more accustomed to the kind of West Coast climate.
You can look at it as being an advantage for the Philadelphia Eagles, but when push comes to shove, it's the person who wants to win the most is going to make the difference, and the cold weather is only going to determine maybe who gets into the shower quicker.
And while the Rams prepared to fly east, the Eagles headed south to Atlanta, away from distractions and the home field disadvantage of their own AstroTurf.
You get on grass that you can practice on, and Philadelphia's been really cold. And, the field's been frozen, and we've been practicing on AstroTurf, and that's not very good for your legs.
There's not really a lot to do down here. It's not like you can drive 5 minutes, and get to a wonderful bar or anything. You sit in your room, and last night I opened my playbook up more than I ever had, and I was studying plays at 12:30 at night, and I called Anthony Toney up, and I asked him a couple of things about a certain play that I want to run. I said, if I call it, you know what you got to do. So we got something straightened out that might be the difference in our game.
The big difference in the Eagles game this year has been Buddy Ryan's belief that the only way to reach New Orleans is by running. And despite facing one of the worst pass defenses in the league, Eagles coaches insist that's what they'll stick with. Before a big game, though, it's even harder than usual to get them to go beyond the obvious.
We'd love to be able to run the ball. That's no secret. I mean, everybody knows we'd love to be able to do that. And passing-wise, we just have to keep their linebackers and their rushers, their tackles off of us. And it's going to be a great battle. You notice I didn't answer your question.
Running or passing, though, this man remains the big threat as far as the Rams are concerned.
Randall Cunningham, he is their running game. Most of the time he leads the team in running, in rushing, and he leads the team, obviously in passing. So, I think his ability as far as running the ball and passing the ball, that keeps teams off balance.
What's worse for the Rams is that they have to try to contain Cunningham with a defensive line that's badly hit by injury, while the Eagles unit, led by Reggie White, is relatively healthy, with one exception. Buddy Ryan's one big injury worry going into this game is his all-pro cornerback Eric Allen, who's almost certain to be out with a sprained ankle. Allen doesn't get the publicity of a Reggie White, but he leads the NFC in interceptions this year, and it's the Eagles' turnover ratio that's consistently allowed them to come from behind and win games this season. In fact, with the Rams' big playability, this could be the matchup of the two best fourth-quarter teams outside San Francisco. So if this game's tied going into the fourth quarter, you can expect all this talk of running the football to go out of the window in favour of an aerial battle between Everett and Cunningham.
Well, that really should be a great game, and it's a toss-up as to who'll win. To see who does, join me next year, as I'll be back later tonight at 10 past midnight. We'll also have highlights of the Oilers-Steelers game, which should turn out to be a war. If you can't join me then, make sure you tune in next Sunday when we're back to our regular time of 5:30, and we'll have brief highlights of today's wildcard games, together with action from 2 of the divisional playoff matches. So I'll either see you tonight or next week. And until then, I wish you all a very happy new year.